Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with another Japanese deep dive into some more Takashi Ishii, which I'm just really enjoying this ride at the moment. I'm just going to see what I have access to in terms of filmography. I finished the Third Window box set, which was really fantastic. I enjoyed all four of these movies on this edition, so highly recommend. And now I'm trying to track down the more skew ones, the more harder access, and just to see what's available in terms of UK DVD and what I can get on streaming. And there's been quite a few films that are just really hard to access at the moment. I've had to purchase, in preparation for this one, Black Angel 2, which is available on the UK DVD. But that has very hard access to find, and it is available quite cheap for about £4 in terms of a UK pickup. And I've heard very good things about this one. I know Time Comfrey Square's been posting it all over his Instagram page and his official Twitter. I know it's getting a Spectrum release, French release very soon, which unfortunately doesn't have any English subtitles, but the fact that it is getting a HD presentation does say to me that there is some negotiations being done behind the scenes, and eventually it will get either a Vinegar Syndrome release or a UK release, hopefully from Third Window Films, which will continue this director's kind of lineup, which is great. The character of Nami, which he kind of focuses on the initial first 4 films I've reviewed, plus the Angel God movies, is no longer a thing here. I know that's the same within the Frozen movie as well, where he doesn't use that persona kind of name. So maybe he, after 4 movies plus and doing some written work within the Angel God movies, maybe he kind of figured out how to write for different type of women, and maybe he wanted to explore different types of avenues with different production companies as well. I would say with Black Angel, he's definitely exploring a bit more of a contemporary, a bit more of a broader kind of audience this time around, diving into the Girls with Guns type of series that was going on within Hong Kong and Japan, which I've explored quite a bit of on this channel. And he's obviously delved into kind of, pink genre films and exploitation, and done his kind of more darker adaptations based on true life stories or novels, and touched upon some really kind of heavy topics, and having the characters at the forefront every time, despite the limitations of the budget. This time around, it definitely feels a little bit more expensive. It definitely still feels like kind of 90s kind of cheapness at times, but it definitely feels like a more of a, what is popular during this point? This is 1998. What is selling? What is the kind of talking point? Broader, a bit more maybe accessible movie compared to what you usually would do. Don't get me wrong, this film is still dark. It still has some tragic kind of themes and heavy topics in there for sure. But for some reason or not, it doesn't really kind of pull me in compared to what I've seen previously. I don't know what happened with this one. And this is what I mean about the idea of style over substance, because this film is oozing with 90s kind of style. Some very good looking people in this film, some pretty interesting kind of characters. I don't see all of them are particularly well fleshed out. I do think the story is not as compelling as it could be. I think all the material is there. I definitely feel like I need to have a second viewing on this, and maybe I might feel differently later on, maybe if it's a HD presentation, or maybe if I'm seeing it with the second one as a double bill, potentially back to back. Maybe I might watch it again before watching the second one. I'm not too sure. There's something about the film which I enjoyed my experience with it, similar to kind of Angel Guts Red Flash, but I didn't get a lot out of it, if I'm being completely honest. I thought the ending was a little bit unsatisfying. I thought some of the pacing and the structure of this is just a little bit all over the place. I don't know what happened here. I think there is maybe the script, the screenplay is a little stronger than the actual how it was kind of filmed and put together. Maybe the edit was letting this film down. There's just something about the film that's just not clicking in the right way for me. And granted, it does have some great shots and has some great clips, and I'm sure you're going to see all of it on Instagram and YouTube and various kind of places. It definitely has that kind of oozing kind of 90s kick-assery, but it doesn't go about it in that way. This is not a kick-ass, female-led kick-ass movie. This is another dark, tragic movie in the wake of Alone in the Night, but not as effective as it could be. It's holding back a little bit, and I think that's maybe down to the studio, maybe it's down to him, maybe he didn't want to do the same thing twice, but he sort of has at the same time. The fact that he wanted to do a volume 1, volume 2, maybe volume 2 will explore some of these ideas in a bit more of a coherent kind of way. I'm not too sure about that. But in terms of Black Angel by itself, the idea of the film is essentially you've got classic Yakuza kind of shenanigans. I miss Yakuza. Yakuza movies are just the bread and butter of Japan cinema, and it's interesting to see the more the lower kind of grounded kind of movies like the V Cinema or the kind of more indie-based ones. Again, Alone in the Night was also Yakuza as well. So something that we haven't not seen before from this director. He's been exploring that within his previous two films that I've watched within Alone in the Night and A Night in the Nude, which had Yakuza aspects in the film. This time around, you've got the Dom, the Godfather character, which is basically being assassinated. His entire family's been killed, and they want to kill the daughter as well. Now, the daughter is saved by a character called the Black Angel. Black Angel gets her this daughter out of Dodge and basically sends her off to America and LA, which the character name is called Iko, which is quite different from his usual kind of names he would do previously to these kind of movies I've been watching. And basically this little girl goes to LA, comes back to Japan 14 years later, and is 20-year-old. She has I would say a boyfriend, maybe a friend, someone who's willing to go on this kind of revenge murder rampage, amateur style, in Japan, and basically track down the people that were responsible for her entire family's death and trying to kill her as well. And she comes back, causes a lot of trouble within the kind of Yakuza community, and surprisingly is quite effective despite being quite amateurish. She's not very good at this. She does have some fight skills, she does have some gunplay, but clearly she is just very much an amateur. She doesn't know how to fully use the weapon, which is appealing into one aspect. And the fact that she does fight but does get her ass kicked a little bit is also interesting. Her friend definitely does step up in that in terms of supporting her, and they do take out a few people. Being successful despite how amateurish and how kind of stupid she is, really, if I'm being completely honest. She's way over her head, but not done in a more compelling or interesting way. She's just a very much a 90s LA American kid in Japan, causing some trouble with her kind of straight friend, I'm not too sure, a boyfriend, who knows, both willing to kill in cold blood as mentioned. And they get to a kind of a point where they basically start messing up, and the consequence of that lead to some of the deaths that do happen in the film, which I won't say too much. She does get captured by the main kind of Dom, the main Godfather, who puts her through her paces a little bit. There's a bit of torture, there's suggestive kind of rape and drug use, and basically is kind of messing with her. And there's some hidden truths and reveals been played in there in terms of who this character is and how she's associated with another character. Echo's character is not the Black Angel. She says that she is at the start of the film, and that doesn't really kind of play into it. It's a bit of a missed opportunity there, being the fact that she's, idolized this savior from when she was a kid, comes back, calls herself the Black Angel, and then doesn't really kind of run with it. That could have been an interesting kind of idea in terms of, her stirring up trouble with that kind of this code name, that persona name. But the actual real Black Angel has also had quite a tragic kind of 14 years herself. She's a drug addict now. She's an alcoholic. She's kind of used and abused by the Dom, by the Godfather, the villain character, and she's a shell of her former self. And she was this kind of legendary kind of, assassin character, female assassin, and now she's a wreck of herself. She comes into play, being kind of brought back, and essentially you've got an interesting kind of, back and forth between those two kind of characters, the woman that saved her and now the woman who is trying to kill her. And, that conflict is there. And you've got very odd kind of motivations that are happening between different people. And I would say it's kind of strange at times, because there's clear moments in the film where this character is straight up dead or not going to survive this, or should be just killed by the amount of people that she's killed in the film. She kills a shitload of people in terms of the Yakuza kind of gangs, in an amateur kind of fashion, down the way, because again, she's not great with a weapon. She has to awkwardly reload it. She's not massively kind of skilled as a fighter or weaponry person. She even says at the start of the film she's trying to find the Black Angel to train her up a little bit more and to kind of get her skill sets up to snuff. So it's either that Yakuza gang are so inefficient and so shit, which, to be fair, they usually are when you see a lot of these kind of Yakuza films, or she's just that good in terms of her limited experience within LA, which is, again, something not really explored that much. There's a lot of kind of missing gaps in information here that are not quite gelling well. And honestly, I don't think Yuka's character is particularly that interesting, and I think she's really underdeveloped, a bit confusing in terms of her ultimate goal. She wants revenge, yes. She's kind of, dragged her friend down here as well, and she's been quite unprepared, quite ill-equipped, way over her head, but not in an interesting, tragic kind of way where we've already seen within Alone in the Night. But just, she's very lucky that she gets out of Dodge, out of scrape quite a few times in the film. And apart from some great cinematography, some great kind of neon lighting, and there is some good edits, some good kind of clips definitely would be quite compelling for sure. And I think one of the best aspects of the film is towards the end, which is a bit annoying. It's a bit of a shame because I do think there's a bit of a conflict between the script and what he's presented. And again, I don't know if it's down to the edit, I don't know if it's down to the structural things being missing, because it definitely feels it wants to be a Girls with Guns movie, but it's not confident enough to kind of pull that off. The action and the fighting or the gunplay work is not as interesting as it could be. There's some good moments granted in the film, more better than others, and he definitely tries to make it more dynamic and fun, fast, with the kind of sweeping camera movement, with the rooftop sequence and the elevator moments. And there's some stuff at the start I do like, but it comes across a bit kind of sloppy. Again, I don't know if it's down to what's been kind of decided on the day or the edit or how it's presented. He's definitely been hiding some action moments within the great nightclub sequence with the smoke. I thought that was pretty cool. So he definitely is a little bit kind of struggling in that regard in terms of the traditional Girls with Guns kind of, presentation that he's trying to go for versus the more darker, tragic characters piece, the character study that he's been exploring and kind of developing through his manga all the way to these films and now to this one. I don't think that is as strong as it could be. I think all the characters are underutilized and underdeveloped and not as interesting. And I think one of the more interesting characters doesn't have as much screen time compared to our main character, which I think is just, again, quite annoying, just not as compelling. And it definitely goes back to that point of style over substance this time around, which is a bit of a shame. He's definitely decided to go for more of a broader movie, trying to cash in a bit more on the what was popular at that time with the V cinema and the Hong Kong movies and Girls with Guns. Definitely cashing on that kind of idea. The poster is definitely exciting. The trailer is probably very exciting. But unfortunately, I don't think the film was as good as it could be. And I think there is a better film somewhere here. I would love to see deleted scenes, but I don't think that will happen, if I'm being completely honest. So, not a bad film, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy my time with it. I would likely watch it again, probably on a better release, maybe potentially, or maybe part of a double bill if I watch it with Black Angel Part Volume 2. But I don't think it's as strong as I've seen him previously to his other films that I've seen up to this point. It's a bit of a shame. So hopefully Black Angel Volume 2 will be more interesting. Maybe that will be more traditional, what he usually goes for. So what are your thoughts and impressions on Black Angel? Please comment down below. What are your thoughts on Black Angel Volume 2? I'm getting that very soon, guys. So I will be reviewing that upcoming. So in the meantime, guys, I'm Amphlett Reviews. Signing out.